Hey everyone. Someone said something very interesting to me today, and I just wanted to share it with you guys and get your opinion. Sorry if I sound funny, but I'm a bit dehydrated. But anyways, this morning I saw a homeless person. I didn't know if it was a woman. I didn't know if it was a man. I didn't know if it was black or anything other than black. I didn't care. The person that was with me went into Starbucks and bought himself some coffee, and I went into the bagel shop after watching this woman freezing in the early morning cold, and I went and I bought her a bagel. You know, whenever I approach someone that's homeless, I always approach them in the most respectful manner. And so I went to the lady. I saw she was peeking out of her blanket because she heard us talking. And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am." I said, I just bought this bagel. Would you like to have it?" And I had actually bought it for her, not for myself. And she said, "Thank you." And I find that most people that I approach and I offer them food, whether it's leftovers or something freshly bought, most of them are usually grateful. And I do that because I believe that we have a responsibility as human beings, as people that are functioning and productive in society, to help others who can't be as functional as we are. And she seemed really grateful. And like I said, most people usually are. But the man that was with me, he was an Asian man, and he's from Russia. And he looked at me and he said to me, "Why don't these people work?" And I knew what he meant by that. He meant, why don't people that are homeless work? Not why don't these black people work, but why don't these people that are homeless work? And I said to him with all sincerity, sometimes people can't work. Sometimes a person is so mentally or psychologically or even socially disturbed or awkward, or, put whatever word you want to use on there, disabled, that they cannot function effectively in a work environment. I mean, think about it. Sometimes you see people and they're schizophrenic and they're homeless, and they're sitting there at a bus stop or wherever you may see them walking down the street pushing a cart, and they're talking to themselves or they're talking to this imaginary person. Do you really expect for that person to be working in an office or even working at a McDonald's and taking your order or making your food? Let's be realistic. Everybody loves to be judgmental, but I think that most people don't really think before they speak. And then you have other people that just sort of go with the flow. They subscribe to everything that everyone else subscribes to, and that is condemning people that have less than they do. And I just don't agree with that. I think that if you have the ability to help someone, you should do that. Late last year, I was in Hawaii, and I don't think many people know this, but on the island of Oahu, at least, I don't know about the other islands, but on the island of Oahu, there was a huge homeless population in Honolulu and also in other parts of the island. And so there were people that would be on the main strip in Honolulu, in Waikiki, sorry, and they would be laying out on the beaches or whatever. And a lot of times I would go to a nice restaurant and have food left over. Now, because I'm on vacation and because I'm going to probably have another meal somewhere else, more than likely that food would just sit in the refrigerator and either not be eaten at all, or, well, I would never throw food away. So, I would just have it sitting there and eat it later. But I said, why save it for later when I'm passing by these people that are hungry, obviously. They don't have anywhere to cook a meal. They have no means to buy a meal. Let me share what I have. And so I did that. I was there for about, oh God, I think 3 weeks. And every day that I was in Waikiki, which, was probably, I don't know, out of those 3 weeks, maybe I was in Waikiki about 1.5 weeks. I shared what I had. And I even went to the manager of the Cheesecake Factory, which is one of my favorite restaurants. And I said to him, I told him what I was doing. And he thought it was a great idea. And I said, well, do you guys have programs here where you actually feed the homeless? And he said, yes. And then I said, well, while I'm here, if you have anyone that's going to, send back an order, or because they don't like the way it was made or whatever, you overcook something, I said, can you please just bring it to my table and I will distribute it to the people on the beach, the homeless people on the beach? And he said yes, and he did that. And I was just so grateful. And not only was I grateful, but the people that I gave the food to, they were so grateful. I had a pizza, and I had some other stuff like salmon and mashed potatoes or whatever it was. And I got napkins, I got forks. I mean, I just got everything that I thought I would need to make them comfortable, and really make them feel like, hey, this isn't just somebody throwing some food at me, but, she actually thought about it. And everybody was just so grateful. And I was just so grateful. I felt so good helping them and giving them something that I knew that they needed. There was one white lady. She was lying on the bench and she looked as if she was sleeping, and I didn't want to wake her, so I just sort of put her food next to her so that when she woke up, she would have something to eat. And as soon as she saw me approaching her, she instantly woke up and she had a smile on her face, and she was just so happy and so grateful. And then, of course, there were, people that saw me often, and so they knew when they saw me coming, I was bringing food, and they were so happy. And there was a white man, and he was lying underneath the tree, and I put a bag of food next to him. And there was a man walking behind me, a white man as well, and he made a comment, something like, they never appreciate what you do. They usually just want the money. And I just kind of looked at him like, you fucking idiot. And then I said, well, that hasn't been my experience. My experience has been that they are very grateful, and they've always been grateful. I've never had a bad experience where someone said, yeah, I'll pass. Or, what do you have in there first? Never, ever. And I've done this everywhere I've gone. Here in California and Santa Monica, we have a huge homeless population. I mean, anywhere I've gone and I've seen somebody hungry, I've done it. And I've only had one person. This was another white woman, and she was, sitting out on the street, and I stopped my car, and I had some food in the car, and I offered it to her, and she said that she would rather have some money. And I could smell alcohol on her, and so I just said, I'm sorry, I can't give you any money. And I kept going. I got back in my car and I left. But that's rare. That's one person out of so many people that I've done that with. So I did this video because I just wanted you guys to know that the next time you see a person sitting on the street, or you prejudge somebody because you see that they aren't working or they're homeless, you think about what I've said. You think about what I've said, and you consider that maybe they can't work. And you also consider that we have a responsibility as people who can produce an income and can be functional in society. We have a duty and we have an obligation to help those who can't.